very impressed with what I've seen in Brazil. This is my second time here speaking before veterinarians and oncologists in Brazil. And you have a really good infrastructure. One of the things that impresses me the most is a meeting like this where there's funds available to bring students from Brazil as well as from outside of Brazil for exposure to the scientific meeting. In North America right now, economically, there's very little money spent on bringing students to meetings like this. And so I think that's really important that Brazil is doing that. Also, you have a very committed group of oncologists, comparative oncologists, veterinarians that are organizing groups to answer specific questions about cancer diagnosis, cancer progression, cancer therapy, and to include companion animals, pet dogs and cats, who develop tumors naturally, very similar to the process in people, and to utilize that population to investigate cancer and treatment of cancer to help both the companion, the veterinary species, but also to help humans with cancer. And that's really important. And in North America, we have several organizations that work together to answer these critical questions that bring together veterinarians and human medical doctors to answer these questions. And the same is going on in an earlier stage, but going on in Brazil. And Brazil has several advantages for certain tumor types, in particular breast cancer in people. We don't see canine breast cancer, mammary gland cancer in North America because our population is 90% neutered. And so we don't see breast cancer develop in our population. So we don't have the model that Brazil has and the expertise that Brazil has with mammary carcinomas. We can't teach Brazilian veterinarians anything about mammary or breast cancer because we don't see it, but you can teach us so much more. And so one of the reasons I came to this meeting was to establish connections between the North American scientists and the Brazilian scientists so that we can work together to include breast cancer as one of the areas that we work on. Where I'm at in North America, I do a lot of work with other cancers like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, bone cancer in children, where we have a lot of that in our population. But the biggest problem in women in the United States is breast cancer, and we can't help them answer questions there because we don't see breast cancer in dogs. But down here you see a lot of it. So I'm really hoping that we can create some communication and collaboration with Brazilian veterinarians so that we can add everyone to the mix to help solve some of the basic questions of breast cancer, both in people and in dogs.
Okay. In addition to contribute to the animals' health, what's your opinion about the relationship between animals and human beings?
Yeah, I think there's several advantages to cooperative and comparative oncology because so many things that cause cancer in our dog and cat population are the same things that cause cancer in people. And so the same types of cancers, with a few exceptions, occur in dogs and cats, and the mechanisms that lead to cancer seem to be very similar, both at the level of the gene and at the level of the cell. And so many of the critical questions that need to be answered as to why cancer develops, how we can prevent it from developing, and once it's developed, how we can treat it effectively, we can answer those questions by treating our patients and informing human clinical trials based on what we learned in dog and cat cancers.
Great. I hope we can establish a very strong collaboration with the Brazilian researchers and the all researchers that came here in order to improve our knowledge about cancer in animals as well in humans.
Right.
Okay.
Well, we've been very impressed. I've been very impressed. The energy down here is very high. The level of funding is starting to get larger and larger, and the recognition by physicians in Brazil as to the utility, the usefulness of looking at cancer in dogs and cats to help them look at cancer in people is increasing as well, and that's very important from a scientific standpoint as well. So it's a very exciting time in Brazil, and we'll be able to help each other. We have some experience with setting up these organizations, and we hope to be able to offer that experience. But you have the people, the scientists, and the technology to apply that and create the infrastructure that I'm sure will be very successful.
Okay, thank you very much for your
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
I hope you can come back very soon.
I'd love to. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.